about, if you've seen anything to give you any hints of quarterback about where you might be at?
I think we've gathered some good information. It was 4 days. We've gathered some good information, but we're nowhere near anywhere trying to make any decisions at this point. What we've been really trying to do, and I think the hardest thing is when you got 4 guys and you're trying to all really evaluate all 4 of them to give them the right amount of reps and looks to where we can evaluate them and give them those fair shots. I think we've been able to do that, though, really to the point where we've thrown a lot of balls in the last 4 days. And, you can tell there's great carryover from the older 2 guys that were here in the spring, and the younger 2 guys are real eager. And, they're getting better each day. The first couple of days, you can tell their heads kind of spinning, like, wow, this stuff's moving fast. But the last 2 days, I've noticed in particular, it's really starting to slow down for them. They're starting to grasp the system enough to where now they can play ball a little bit. They're not thinking as much. They're still thinking a little bit in some areas, but they're getting closer to where I think they can turn it loose and do what they're capable of.
Have the new guys at quarterback caught up to the guys that have been here a while yet, or is that?
Yeah, no, not yet. I mean, you got guys that got 15 days in spring and the majority of summer. But I will tell you this. I've been really pleased with both of their attention to detail and their willingness to do extra to try to catch up, from a mental standpoint. And all 4 have done some good things athletically out there and made some really good throws at times. But mentally, I mean, just as far as the system goes and understanding things at the speed, you're going to be a little bit behind. But that doesn't have anything to do with the race. I mean, I think those guys are bringing themselves along just nicely.
How much are you looking forward to, I guess, the next 4 or 5 days, that's the first kind of chance to get a lot of some live action with them?
A lot. I think we've learned a lot more in the last 2 days when we at least got shoulder pads on. Now tomorrow we're going full pads. You get to start tackling, get a scrimmage coming up, and so the next probably 4 or 5 days, which is going to be about 6 or 7 practices. I think a lot of information can come our way then, and that'll be big.
You said you might have to get creative and try to find ways to get them all snaps. Was there anything special you had to come up with to do?
No, it's just, when you got 4 guys, you're trying to give them all the right amount of reps. So maybe an individual, you split those up and you have 2 things going on at one time. Trying to be more efficient with your time there. And then just more than anything, I think you just got to plan your practice out to make sure that you're not overlooking a situation that one guy's getting reps in and others not. Because they need the reps, and then, especially really all 4 of them to learn the system and to improve. But then we need the reps to see how they react in certain situations. And so, like I said, since we got the pads on, the type of scenarios you can get in, a lot more blitzing scenarios and those kind of deals have changed, and so that's helped, us get more information.
Right.
Gus had said that there's been some mishaps and mistakes just with the high number of reps at the quarterback position, just some turnovers and things like that. How much of this is the defense making plays, and how much of it is these guys making either mental mistakes or just wrong reads and things like that? Probably
a little bit of both. I mean, I'll tell you one thing, our defense is flying around, and I think that's really encouraging. And, I think today they were really getting after it. And, the other thing, with 4 days, it's 4 days into practice. For 2 guys, they've had 4 practices. They're picking up a system. So that stuff's going to happen. Oftentimes, it's been more just because, it was mental that, hey, it's maybe his first rep ever live with that play. Things are going to happen like that. The thing that's been positive is very rarely have we made the same mistake twice. So that's been good.
When obviously you have a wide open quarterback battle, you have 4 candidates for it. How much easier does it make it when you know who your left tackle is going to be? You know that he's a guy that you can rely on regardless of who your quarterback is to protect his blind side.
Yeah, it's nice to have some answers, some questions answered already without a doubt. We've got some guys that are stepping up. Most positions are still pretty open. We've got guys competing across the board. But Greg has had a good spring, he's had a good summer, and we're looking forward to big things out of him. And you're right, no matter who the quarterback is, they're going to feel good having some of those guys like Greg and Reese that have played and are experienced veteran guys up front at key positions. And that helps when you're trying to decide important position battles to have some, I don't know if you'd say decided, but pretty solid situations. That's good.
Does that offensive line have stability right now? Obviously, 4 returning starters, maybe it would seem to on paper.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of stability there. There's still some positions that, we're looking at some different things. And the reality of it is that offensive line, no matter if you're in SEC or in the NFL, you're going to have to rotate guys. You're going to have a guy that maybe he's used to playing right tackle, be prepared to move over to left in certain situations, and same thing at guard. So a lot of times when you move guys around in practice, you're wanting to see certain guys can handle knowing both sides. Other guys are better at just one side. And so that's the kind of things you're trying to figure out.
CJ was saying that Melvin Ray and Jalen Denson were working a little bit more at that tight end spot, and who have you had in there since Ricky was dismissed, but between the tight end and the H-back spot, particularly at H-back behind Jay.
Well, now Melvin and Jalen have really been working at our slot receiver spot, so they haven't been playing hand down tight end any. You know, we've got Jay, CJ is one of those guys that works there quite a bit now, and then Gage Batten is another one who's been getting a lot of reps there. So we feel good about the depth there and getting some of those guys reps, especially Gage and CJ lately. And then, you know, Melvin and Jalen have played, you know, Jalen we moved around, and Melvin too, to be honest with you, to the boundary and some of that slot receiver spot.
Let's talk about the wide receivers as a whole. What have you seen out of those guys so far?
A little bit of inconsistency. You know, I do see improvement. We got guys that are playmakers. Now it's just a matter of, you know, those guys deciding they want to be playmakers every day. You know, one guy that does come to mind that I think's been consistent from day one is Quan Bray. I mean, talking about leading by example, making plays, coming to work every day. Been really proud of him. He's really been leading the way for that group.
About the running backs, what you're saying there, but from the older guys and the new guys.
Been good. First of all, the older guys, been good to have all three of those guys are healthy. And they kind of picked up where they left off in spring. And of course, Trey didn't get as much work in the spring at times. It's been good having him healthy. He's going to get a lot of work. I've said it in the spring, I feel like there's three really good guys that all do different things well. You know, we got a bigger guy in Cameron who's really good in pass protection. You also got a guy like Trey and Corey who can really have maybe a little bit different style of running. And all three fit well into what we do. As far as the two younger guys, you know, their head spinning. You get them in a blitz situation, and there's a lot of stuff going on with protections. That's normal 4 practices in. But what I do love is their attitude. I mean, they're attacking it. There's no fear in them. You know, they may not block the right guy, but they're going to go hit him in the mouth. And so you can handle guys as you're teaching and making mistakes like that. I do think Coach Horton and I, we're very pleased with the ability of Rudy and of Peyton. They've shown out really.